I'd like to speak to the game manager, please.
Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be playing Madden 22, and I'm going to be doing a draft guide on how to draft diamonds without actually using news stories. Normally, when I'm playing my franchises, I like to sim pretty quickly. I like to, sim to mid-season or sim to the playoffs, and a lot of times you're not using these news stories, these draft stories that you're going to have. And these draft stories are very useful. They're going to help show players who've potentially increased or decreased their dev traits. I don't really use them. You probably should. They're going to make scouting easier, but for the sake of this video, the entire purpose is showing you how to draft good players without actually using these stories if you're just doing quick seasons by simming. Now, we've just started a new franchise, and preseason week 1, what we need to focus on is hiring and assigning scouts. So let's go into our scouting tab here, and I'm going to show you what I like to do. First of all, I'm going to fire all the scouts. Bye. Bye. Okay, all the scouts are fired. Now we're going to start fresh. We're going to go ahead and we're going to sort our scouts, and we're going to pick brand new ones. So you're allowed to have 1 tier 3 scout, 1 tier 2 scout, and 3 tier 1 scouts. Now for my tier 3 scout, I normally always go with a safety scout, usually Ted Wilkerson or Miguel Villanova. In this case, we're going to go with Ted Wilkerson. We're going to hire him. Perfect. Next, we need a tier 2 scout. When it comes to picking your scouts, I don't really think that having like 1 scout for each position is useful. I think that having 2 positions that you really focus on is the most useful. And in my case, I like to focus on safeties and offensive linemen, usually in the beginning of my franchise, until I have once my defensive back group is really good and my offensive line is good, then I'll switch my scouts. But usually, first thing I do is put my scouts on DBs and offensive linemen. So let's go find another DB one here. Rodney Harrison, Patriots legend. Let's hire him to be our second scout. Now, we're also going to need 3 tier 1 scouts. Now, this is what I like to do when I'm scouting for offensive linemen. I like to do 1 scout who does right guard center, so Rodney Carpenter. Then I'm going to be looking for a scout who does left guard center, Mark Hayes. And then I'm going to be doing 1 that does left guard, right guard, Meg Wilson. Okay, awesome. Now let's go take a look at our scouts. So we got a free safety, strong safety, free safety, strong safety, right guard, left guard, right guard center, left guard center, left guard, right guard. So we have double the power in 1, 2, 3, 5 different positions. To me, this is smart scouting. I'm not trying to do a whole bunch at once. You're never going to need scouts for certain positions as well. Quarterback, you're never going to need a scout. Running back, you're never going to need a scout. Wide receivers, you're never going to need a scout. Offensive linemen and tight end, I would say, are probably the only 2 positions on offense that you ever really need to scout with your scouts. And defense, I prefer free safety, strong safety, because the safety classes are so OP in this iteration of Madden that most of them can just be moved to corner or to linebacker because they're so fast and strong. The only other position that I would say that you need to scout for is defensive lineman, DT, left end, right end. But you can only scout so much at once, which is kind of weird, but that's why we're just going to focus on O-line, which is pretty much the only thing you scout on offense, and the safeties, because the safeties are so versatile. You can put them in different positions. The other thing you have to do is, after you're done picking your safeties, you're just going to press the A or the X button on PlayStation to assign them. Now, my tier 3 scout is always at national. I prefer him there. He's going to get the most coverage, and he's going to do his best work as the national scout. Tier 2, I don't really care that much. I'll just assign them to anywheres for now. I don't really care to look. But what you can do is you can go see, if you go to a region breakdown isn't available yet, but once region breakdown's available, you can see which region has the best of what position, and then you can assign your scouts based on that. I don't care enough to do that. I want to get my seasons done fast. I don't want to spend all the day reading, scouting, and reading the regions and seeing where I should put my scouts. This is fine for me, and I'm going to show you why. Okay, so week 1, you're going to choose a draft class, and for the sake of this video, we're going to keep auto-generated rookies. I don't want to import a local file because I already know which players are going to be good. So we're just going to do a random draft class, and we're going to go from scratch. That way I don't have any time to prepare or see how the draft class goes, and I prefer it that way. Now we have the region breakdown. So we go to the region breakdown, we can see, for example, national. Top prospects, we have a quarterback, corners, quarterback, right guard. The strengths are corner, left end, and wide receiver. Weaknesses are center, left guard, and tight end. So we're not going to put our offensive lineman as the national scout because it's a weakness. We might as well keep the safety there. And then let's see, west. Right there we have the left guard, center. Center is actually a weakness, so we could look to move that. Strength, let's see where the strengths are. There's really no offensive lineman strengths. It seems like it just this entire class is weak on offensive linemen, and that's okay. It's not that big of a deal for the sake of the video, but we're just going to check anyways. Okay, so beginning of the season, when we go to our prospects, I'm going to be honest with you, there's not much to do. Until the combine stats are out, you can't really know anything about these players, but there is one thing you can do. If you need a quarterback for your franchise, now's the time to get an idea of who you want. Let's go to the quarterback tab. So what you're going to do when you're looking for a franchise quarterback is you're going to be looking for their pocket presence. It is fundamentally the most important trait or stat for a quarterback, more important than throw power, more important than their throw style or their motion or their speed. Doesn't matter. What matters the most for your player is their pocket presence. For instance, Jared Barnett, he's a top 5 projected pick. His pocket presence is need to speed up internal clock in pocket. That means oblivious. It's no good. We go to his physicals, great to elite throw power. That's good, but not good enough to make up for his really bad pocket presence. I would not draft Jared Barnett. I would not spend a pick on him, even if he slid. There would be no point, in my opinion. He's never going to perform to the standard that you need him to, even with a good playbook. Like, he'll get stats, but he won't win games. Next up, we have Bart Thomas. He has decent ability to recognize pressure. That translates to average sense pressure, which is the second best you can have. Personally, I still wouldn't draft him to be running through a simulator. I don't think that he'll win games as much as he should, but an average an average pocket presence quarterback is enough to win a Super Bowl. It's just not as good as what you really want. But to be said for this guy, he does have ideal prototypical size. And most importantly, he has lightning quick release, almost ignores lower half. For those who don't know, that's the best throwing motion you can get. That's Slinger 1. Never seen a window he won't throw into. That's aggressive, which is also the best you can get. He's got great to elite throw power, and we don't know anything else about his skills. I would not draft him. Now, what we're going to do is we're just going to go through all the quarterbacks who are projected to be drafted, and we're going to be looking for a quarterback. Ah, found one. Brian Cutler. Calm, but aware of defenders while in the pocket. That translates to ideal pocket presence, and that is what you want in a franchise quarterback. Now, let's take a look at the rest of what he has. Quick to take the check down, conservative passing. I don't particularly like conservative passing, but it's not that big of a deal. Loves to run and play outside the structure. He'll probably have really good physical stats. Very fast and violent throwing motion. I think that's Slinger 3 or Slinger 2. I'd have to double check. Brian Cutler's pretty good. And what we're going to do is we're going to add him to our favorites. Now, all we're going to do is go through all these quarterbacks and find the ones that have ideal pocket presence. Remember, we're looking for calm but aware of defenders while in the pocket. Okay, so I've scouted the entire quarterback class, only focusing on those who are projected to get drafted. The undrafted guys, really, you can find them later on. Teams aren't really going to draft them. You can just grab them as undrafted free agents. But these are the 2 quarterbacks that we found that had the ideal pocket presence trait. And I think that both of them look pretty decent. We don't really know too much about them. Eddie Colvin's 24 years old. Ugh. That's not good. That's probably the second most important trait for any player is their age. But we're going to get into that later. I just wanted to show you what I like to do in the beginning of the season. Go to your quarterbacks, find the ones with calm but aware of defenders while in the pocket, and just favorite them. Because those are the quarterbacks that you're going to want for your franchise. Okay, week 2, you're going to have your regional focus scouting. So you get to choose or delegate. In this case, we're going to choose regional scouting focus. So basically, it's going to give a little bit of a bonus for your regional guys on what position you're focusing on. So in this case, we're going to focus not on center because it's a weakness. We're going to focus on left guard because he does both, right? Left guard and center. But since center is a weakness, we're going to stick with left guard as his focus. Central, either left guard or right guard. And either one's good. Since we already picked left guard as a focus, let's go ahead and pick right guard to make sure we're getting some scouting on that side as well. Northeast, free safety, strong safety. I like to go strong safety. I find the strong safeties are a little bit more overpowered than the free safeties. And finally, right guard or center. Right guard's a weakness, and we already did a right guard, so let's do a center. So we have a focus on all of them. And that's fine for our regional scouting. I would just like to reiterate that if you go over to the news tab and you go to your news stories, you can hold the trigger here at top stories and go to draft. And you can also do the same thing at reactions, go to draft. And these guys are going to give you hints about what players have a chance of having a dev grade. It's kind of a little, you should be using it, but like I said, I sim very quickly. I don't have time for each week to go and read these. So that's why I had to discover how to scout without using them. But I just wanted to reiterate that they were here and that you can use them if you want. And they're very useful. Make a note of any player. It doesn't matter who's saying it or what they're saying about them, whether it's good or bad. Make a note of who the player is. And you can go favorite them just to keep track of what they're doing. Now, week 3 mock drafts will come out. I don't particularly use the mock drafts. I don't think they're that useful. They're cool and fun. Don't get me wrong, for immersion purposes, I don't use it. You know, I'm a very streamlined, minimal player. I just kind of figure out ways to do things very quickly. I'm lazy. So that's why I just don't have time to go through here and look at these mock drafts or care. If there's a player I want, I'll trade up and get him. And if there's a player I want who I don't think is going to be picked, then I'll just wait. Week 6, you're going to have a GM meeting for a prospect spotlight. Your GM's just going to give you an idea of a player that you might want to take a look at. In our case, it's right outside linebacker, Terrence Thompson. These players have a chance of having a dev trait. It's not guaranteed, but we're going to go ahead and we're going to look for Terrence Thompson in our scouting, and we're just going to put him on favorite just in case we have the opportunity to draft him. So prospects, right outside linebacker, Terrence Thompson. Let's just add him. I'm not even going to look at him. There's literally no point of trying to draft or trying to favorite or scout anybody before combine unless it's a quarterback and you're looking at his traits. That's why I don't even bother. Okay, week 8, you're going to be selecting your scouting national focus. Just like we did before with the regional focus, this time we're going to be using our national scout. And in this case, we're going to do strong safety. No, wait, no, we already did strong safety. Okay, we'll do free safety then. Okay, so now we've got one of each for all of our positions that we want. Perfect. Nice and balanced. It's going to give us lots of information that we need to draft. I'm happy with it. Week 11, scouting focus player. You're going to get to choose 3 players that you want to focus scouting on. In this case, I know that we are going to be scouting offensive linemen and we're going to be scouting safeties. I'm just going to look to see guys that, you know, are like this guy right here, Harry Townsend. I'm not even going to look at his stats. He's round 1 to 2, which means it wouldn't take much to trade back up and get him. He's already got, oh, look at this guy. He's 6'7". Oh, these guys are, he's big. There's some big boys. Oh. In my experience, centers are really good in this game. So I'm going to put 2 on center. And then I'm going to put 1 on, let's go Harry Townsend for our other focus player. You can just pick 3 players that you think that could be good. It's, like I said, a crapshoot until you have more information about them later on. So this is not really a good one. This is super focus scouting. It's not good for this right now because you don't know anything about the players. But let's go ahead. We'll put those 3 on. Okay, the season's over and we are now in free agency week 1 and the combine's results are now available, and this is where the real scouting begins. First of all, let's take a look at our quarterbacks that we had saved from earlier. Brian Cutler in particular, we knew that he was going to be athletic, so let's see how athletic. Wow, 4.62 speed. He doesn't have his college pro day yet, so at least we know that he's very athletic. The biggest problem with him is his marginal throw power. That's not great, if I'm being honest with you, and F awareness isn't very good. He's not a franchise quarterback, but he will get you to the playoffs because of his ideal pocket presence, if I'm being honest with you. And looking at Eddie Colvin, who was the other quarterback, he was old. He's athletic, marginal throw power, 24 years old. Ugh. Honestly, this is a really, really bad quarterback class, and that's unfortunate for the Eagles, who kind of need a quarterback. But we're going to focus on trying to grab one of these 2, or maybe a guy who's an undrafted, and there might be somebody better that I just haven't noticed. But we'll see later on. Looking at Terrence Thompson, who is a projected round 2 to 3. He was one of the dev stories that we got. He's 21 years old. So far, what we know about him is he's 6'1", 244 pounds with B pursuit, Z zone coverage. Not the fastest guy on the block. He's a little light to be an edge rusher. A little slow to be a linebacker. I don't particularly like him right now, but if we get some more stat reveals about him, I may draft him. But so far, I don't like him. Okay, so off-season free agency 2. This is when your pro day results are going to be available. This is when I really do most of my drafting. These last 3 weeks, you're going to be doing most of it. So I'm going to show you a couple things that we're going to be looking for. We know that our scouts are offensive linemen and safeties. So let's take a look at what we have available for offensive linemen right now. When it comes to offensive linemen, the most important thing that you're going to be looking for is awareness, and then age, and then the rest of their stats, and then physical. The reason I say physical is last, because offensive linemen are kind of hard to guess if they have a dev trait or not. And for offensive linemen, dev trait is way more important than physicals. And in this case, you need to know their awareness really to figure out if they're going to have the dev trait. So Josh Thomas looks like he might be pretty good, but because we don't know his awareness, I wouldn't draft him. Now, Harry Townsend is a guy that we focused on. He has C awareness. He's 21 years old. He's not very athletic. He's not good whatsoever. I'm glad that we kind of focus scouted on him and we didn't draft him. He is not a good left tackle. He's not somebody that I would spend a draft pick on. Thomas Woodyard has C awareness as well. I wouldn't spend a draft pick on him. Now, Heath Barnett. Let's see how he looks. Physicals are looking pretty good. B pass block, pass block finesse, and B run block, C run block power. If his awareness, yeah, I know. I think I'm going to put Heath Barnett on our list of people we want to scout further. and possibly Josh Barnett as well. Who... No, I don't think I'm going to do that for Josh. I don't think he's going to be very good. Off-season free agency 3, we're going to be able to do some private workouts. So I've gone ahead and put a couple guys on my favorites list that I think that might turn out to be pretty good. About 17 guys I have on here right now. The guys that you put on your favorites, these are the ones you're going to want to use for your private workouts, guys that you want to know more about. We're not going to waste it on those ones at the top, but Heath Barnett, Lane Loomis, and I think Travis Hall is another guy that I want to do. These 3 linemen looked pretty good, so I'm going to waste it on them. Okay, now we're at the draft, and this is the last time you have a chance to put players on your favorites list. So if you want to do that, do it now. We're going to go ahead and scout college players, and we are going to take a look at the ones that were on our... You know what, actually, let's go through it. We know that we were going to draft an offensive lineman. The ones that are on my list right now is Heath Barnett at left tackle. So let's see what I think about him. We still don't know about his awareness, unfortunately. But the rest of his skills look really, really good. And I'm guessing that Heath Barnett has a dev trait. If you don't have his awareness grade scouted, look at the rest of his stats. His pass block finesse, run block finesse, run block power, and pass block power. And if there's a lot of B's and A's, usually that means they're going to have a dev trait. Physical stats are nice, but with offensive linemen, the most important is getting one with a dev trait, because you can't dev up offensive linemen in the simulator, which is unfortunate, which is why I think it's the most important. Second most important being age. You want a younger player, and he's 21 years old, which means you're going to have a ton of time to develop him. And that's why I think Heath Barnett looks really, really good. Nobody on left tackle else that I favorited. Let's see here. Simon Dugan is a first round left guard. He's projected to be the first left guard taken. We still don't know anything about his awareness grade. He looks okay. B pass block, B pass run block power, and C run block finesse. I can't tell anything else about him really. He's 22 years old and above average athleticism. Not enough for me to spend a first round pick on him because I don't know anything. Isaiah Boss is the same thing. We don't really know a lot about him. But if we go to center, Lane Loomis and Travis Hall, we know 99% about them. Are you kidding me? We know 99% about Lane Loomis. We don't know his awareness. That is ridiculous. I've never seen that. He's good. He's really, really good. He's going to have a dev trait. Offensive linemen are pretty easy to predict which ones are going to have a dev trait. He will be one of them. He's a good player to draft. And Travis Hall, there we go. B, awareness, great physicals. Oh, look at that's 2 dev traits right there. I guarantee you both of these have a dev trait. Ryan Greeny and Andrew Still. Let's take a look at them. So Ryan Greeny, he's physical, but he doesn't look as good for his stats. I wouldn't draft him. Andrew Still, B awareness. Oof, he's a beast. I don't think he would have a dev trait. C and D for pass block finesse and run block finesse. It's possible. He's worth a late. This guy is worth a late pick, but I don't think he'll have a dev trait, if I'm being honest. And we go to right guard. John McKinley, 59%. We still don't know anything about his awareness. We've gotten really screwed from this scouting. Usually you'll get to know their awareness, but for some reason this time just hasn't been good. John McKinley looks a bit like a bust. I don't think he's going to be a very good... at least he's not going to have a dev trait. But Johnny Dillard, no awareness. He looks like he might be better, but still not enough information for me to want to, you know, throw a big pick at him. And finally, right tackle. Walter Hartman was the only one I had favorited. Still don't know anything about him too much. He looks like he might be okay. But we'll see what happens when we get into the draft. Little unfortunate that we didn't get to figure out more about these offensive linemen, even though we scouted them pretty good. We just got unlucky. Sometimes you will, because you don't get to pick what skills they're scouting. It's just random. Okay, so for the sake of this draft, we are not going to be trading up. I'm only going to be going right to our pick, and we just have to do with what we have. So we're going to go advance right to our next user pick. We're pick 7. We didn't do very good this season, but I wasn't actually like focusing on the roster or anything. I just wanted to show week by week what you could do in the draft. Now, let's take a look at what we've got. The highest player left is Easton Fisher, who's 6'5", 22. Any linebackers, you want to draft them if they have 4 or 5 speed or better. Normally, he's got B awareness, but there's not enough. I'm not wasting a 7th pick on this guy who I know barely anything about. If I'm wasting the 7th pick. Now, Stefan Watkins, he does not have ideal pocket presence, so he's no good. Cornerback, Kendall Osgood. Corners, you look at that. Whoo-wee. He is a beast. B awareness, A block shedding, 4.3 speed, bench press. Oh my god, this guy's a beast. All right, so we're gonna be taking Kendall Osgood. Honestly, I don't think we're gonna find a better player to take. We don't really know much about him, but even if we don't, corners will dev pretty quickly as long as they have good physical stats. Your playbook's decent, and you actually like start them. So regardless if he has a dev trade or not, I think he's going to be very good for this team, and he's worth the pick at 7. Let's go ahead and see what he is. Whoo-wee! Man, lucky I made a video on how to draft, because I know how to draft. Look at this guy. He's a beast. His jumping is a little disappointing, but that's one stat compared to everything else that is amazing. Kendall Osgood looks really, really good. Okay, so with our next pick, pick number 17, one of the guys we favorited is available, Walter Hartman. I don't think I would draft him at this pick, though, because there are better linemen available, and he could be good. He's physically, you know what I mean, like gifted. He's big. He's got good pass block finesse and good pass block power, but that's not enough. 2 Bs is not enough for me to say that I'm going to pick him over, say, that Loomis, the center, who looks like an absolute stud and way better than this guy. But this guy, Bart Thomas, who we've also scouted, he's 6'4" safety, 22 years old. He's not the best athlete. He's a very solid athlete, don't get me wrong. He ran a 4.52 at his pro day. He's strong, good agility. It's his stats that make me want to draft him. B catching, A finesse, A play recognition, B pursuit, B tackle. He has all the makings of a strong safety or a linebacker. And I think that we're going to take him. I don't know if he'll have a dev trait. His stats are really good, but I think that if you were to play him at middle linebacker, you wouldn't need him to have a dev trait because he'll just get enough tackles where he'll dev up on his own at the end of the season. But let's draft Bart Thomas. Look at that. Man, I sure know how to pick him. He's a little slow. We would play him at middle linebacker with 87 speed. There's no way I would play him at free safety. He is too slow to play at free safety, but he is a great linebacker for our team. Okay, so for our 3rd pick, we're going to go with Lane Loomis, who looks like an absolute beast. We don't know his awareness, but I'm pretty much guaranteeing that he will have a dev trait. He looks way too good not to. When it comes to linemen, look at his physical stats are amazing, and his regular skills are all A's and B's. I think that this guy is, I would bet my money on him having a dev trait, and I would win that bet. He was too good not to have a dev trait, honestly. So with our next pick, we're going to be drafting Nate Kirkpatrick. He's a running back, and when you're drafting a running back, the only thing you need to know is his speed, his agility, and his acceleration. Everything else will upgrade on its own over time. Dev trait will come on its own over time, but his athletic skills, that's something that's hard to get for a running back. 4.32 speed, He's second and best in the class for acceleration, fourth best in the class for agility. Going over to his skills, B awareness, B break tackle, B medium row, B spin route move. Like, I think this is a guy, running back. Running backs are hard to predict which ones will have dev traits, but if I were to take a guess out of any of the running backs in this class, Nate Kirkpatrick might be the closest one to having one. No guarantees though, because like I said, running back is something that's super hard to predict if they're going to have the dev trait or not. Well, let's see. No dev trait, totally worth it though. 94 speed, 93 change of direction, 89 agility. He's a beast. I'm not even upset that he doesn't have a dev trait. But let's go ahead and go to our next pick. So the next player we're going to take is Evan Payton. I think that we could use a slot corner, and a lot of times you're going to find safeties who are later in the draft, but they'll make good slot corners. In this case, when you're looking for a slot corner, the one thing that you want is a guy who's very athletic, just like Evan Payton, and he has to be quick. 4.41 speed is pretty fast. I think that's going to translate to about 90, possibly 89. It'll be anywhere from 89 to like 91 speed, I think, and that's pretty good for slot corner. A catching. The other thing that you want for your slot corner is tackle, which he has C, which is good. Hit power B, great. Block shedding C, that's awesome. All those are really, really good for a slot corner. I think that he could be a linebacker. He's a little small to play linebacker position. His worst thing is that he's 23 years old. I prefer 22 and younger. But Evan Payton, you know what? I think he'll be a decent slot corner for us. Let's go ahead and draft him. 91 speed. See, I was right at the top there. Everything else is looking not too bad. He'll dev up. Change of direction's a little on the lower side. A little too low for a slot corner, if I'm being honest. But let's go ahead and go to our next pick. And I'm hoping that this lineman is still available at this pick here. Let's see. If we go to favorites, Andrew Still is still available. That's good. So we're going to draft him next. I showed you him earlier. We know his awareness is B. He's 6'5", 295. He's athletic as all hell. His stats are iffy with B pass block power, D pass block finesse, and C run block finesse. I would say that he's a 50-50 shot of having a dev trait just because of his B awareness and the fact that he's so physically gifted. Maybe I would say 51% chance of having it and 49 of not, because I think that he might end up having one. But we're going to draft him anyways. He's a 4th round pick, and if he doesn't have the trait, then he's a backup. He's a really good backup. So he's going to be a really good backup. Doesn't have the trait, and that's okay. I'm not too disappointed. We're going to go ahead and go to our next pick. It's so much harder to get dev traits late in the draft. It's like really difficult. You've seen my first 4 picks were pretty much home run picks, and now it's just you're just scraping the bottom of the barrel. So for this next pick, I think I'm going to take Chip Perkins. He's 6'3", 260, tight end. The only reason I'm going to draft him late is because his physical stats are so good. He ran a 4.56, and he has really good jump. He's fast jump ball kind of guy. Skills, I don't know anything really about him. I'm not drafting him for his skills. I'm drafting him because he's fast. He's a good backup tight end. And if he has a dev trait, I mean, that would be awesome, but he doesn't. 84 speed. Okay, we got the lower end there. That's not good, but whatever. He's backup. He'll play behind Dallas Goedert or whoever the Eagles have at tight end. I'm not 100% sure. So sometimes I like to draft interesting players. Players who I don't necessarily think are going to have a dev trait or are really good, but I just think they're interesting the way they look. This guy is interesting to me. He's 6 feet tall, 220 pounds, 21 years old, out of Harvard. Just something, it looks almost like something like a regular person would have created instead of being auto-generated. Physical stats, he's pretty physical. I mean, he's top of the line of athletics for a left outside linebacker. But his skills are what's really interesting to me. A, man coverage, C, awareness, C, catching, C, finesse move. He's not an outside linebacker. He's like a sub-middle linebacker. Not very fast, so he couldn't play like a box safety role. But he's too light to play like a thumping middle linebacker. But yeah, he's more of like a coverage back, and that's why I think he's kind of interesting. I don't think he'd ever really develop to be anything good, but you know, I want to draft him just because I think that he's an interesting looking player. 84 speed, not too bad actually. Not too bad whatsoever. Jumping is a little bit whack at 69, but all of the linebackers don't really have good drafting, or sorry, good jumping. We're gonna draft Will Crocker just on his speed alone. He's a day 3 halfback, really athletic, looks pretty good from just his athletic side. You know, he's a backup. I don't expect him to have a dev trait. He just, you know, he's a speedy backup. That's it. 91 speed, a little slower than I thought he was going to be, but nah, not too bad. So you're not going to be drafting a dev trait for every pick. You just want your early, your first and second round and third round picks to be dev traits, because those are the ones that are actually worth something. These late round picks are just for interesting guys, or guys you want to take a chance on to see if they're any good, physical guys. And with the last pick in the draft, we're going to be taking Shane Dowell. He's a quarterback, calm but aware of defenders well in the pocket, so he does have ideal pocket presence. He has aggressive throwing. He's 22 years old, 6'3". Really, just from this, I would have drafted him whether he was a second round pick, third, or a projected undrafted. Now, physicals, throw power is only decent, but I mean, he's undrafted. What do you expect? His physical stats are above average. And skills, we don't really know anything about him besides his stamina's A, but he's not going to have a dev trait, but he's a decent quarterback that we could probably turn into a franchise quarterback if we wanted. I would even consider starting him over Hurts if this guy's stats are, you know, we'll see what they look like. 84 throw power, that's a little on the low side. You kind of want the threshold at 85. But like I said, ideal pocket presence matters more than pretty much anything else. But he's a 7th round pick. He's a backup. Let's be real. Okay, so I'm out of draft picks now. And to finish up our video, I want to talk about each position, what you're going to be looking for. So for DBs, strong safety, free safety, and corner, all of them you're going to be looking for speed and athletics, awareness, and man coverage. Those are the things that are, the man coverage is going to matter the most, along with awareness and his physical stats. That's all I look for DBs. And secondary, I like catching and hit power, as well as tackle. That's all those are secondary, what I like to look for. But main stats that you're looking for is man coverage, speed, and awareness. Those are what are going to matter in the simulator. That's for DBs. Linebackers, I don't really draft linebackers that much. Middle linebacker, I'll draft if anything. You're going to be looking for hit power, block shedding, awareness, speed. Pretty much the same thing as DBs. Defensive linemen is where you're going to be looking different. You don't really need physical stats for defensive linemen except for strength. Speed's nice, but it's not the be-all, end-all. What you're going to be looking for is block shedding and as well as their pass rushing moves. So, for instance, he has this guy, Dondre. That's a weird way to spell Dondre. Belzer. He's got D power moves, so I wouldn't draft him, but that's what you're looking for. Awareness, block shedding, and then their pass rushing moves. That's going to tell you a lot about defensive linemen. Don't really get all crazy about the physical aspects of speed and strength and whatnot. The pass rushing moves are more important, as well as the I would say age too. You want younger guys. 21 is always the best for any position. 21 is the best. And for offensive linemen, awareness is going to be your most important, and secondly is going to be the rest of their blocking skills. Like I showed you earlier in the video, if they have a bunch of blocking skills that are A's and B's, that's a really good chance that they're going to have dev trait. Tight end, you're just really going to be going off of his physical stats, as well as wide receiver. Actually, tight end, wide receiver, fullback, and halfback, you're all going to be drafting off of their physical stats. That's the only thing you can really do. The other stats aren't going to tell you much. High awareness will kind of tell you a lot about a player. If you see A awareness, there's a really good chance that they're going to have a dev trait no matter what position they are. And quarterback, most important, ideal pocket presence, and that's it. throw power, maybe secondary. And if you want to know if they're going to have a dev trait, awareness. That pretty much goes for every position. But yeah, that's the draft. Let's go ahead and we'll go to the recap and see how we did. So I feel like we had a pretty good draft. Looking at here immediately, Bart Thomas is 80 overall. That's insane. He must have been the best player in the class. He had to have been. Let's check. NFL. Let's sort by their grade. Yep. So Bart Thomas was the best in the draft class. He's just absolutely mind-boggling good. Let's go back to Eagles. Okay, so we got Bart Thomas for the 17th pick. Let's take a look at him. He's going to be playing linebacker in this. Yeah, look at that. He's got aggressive play ball, high motor, 82 hit power, 87 speed, 83 zone coverage, like a linebacker with 83 zone, 71 tackle, 78 awareness. His worst thing is his block shedding, but that'll increase with time. You know what I mean? As you're upgrading him. 70 man coverage. This guy's going to be like a GOAT linebacker if you put him there as your sub linebacker and Mike linebacker. Completely goated. Before we can actually look to see what their dev trait is, just for fun. Not that it really matters, but because that's a crapshoot. You can't tell at all who has what. So he's a superstar. Our 17th pick, really, really, really good. Next up, our first pick, which was Kendall Osgood, the corner. 21 years old, 94 speed, 72 man, 67 zone, 65 tackle, really good. Hit power 69, that's nice, really nice. He looks really good. I think he's probably only going to be star dev. That's my guess, just looking at the rest of his stats. But I might be wrong. Nope, star dev. I'm usually not wrong because I'm a genius. Anyways, Lane Loomis. He's only 69 overall. But you know what? He still looks really good. 89 strength. Look at pass block finesse. There's a lot of green. And the rest of it's yellow. Let's check his dev trait. Star. It's very hard to find offensive linemen that are superstar or better. I've gotten an X Factor in Madden 22 only one time. It's very, very, very rare. Nate Kirkpatrick does not have a dev trait, but he still looked really good. 94 speed. Look at aggressive possession and run after the catching traits. That's amazing. He looks incredible. Payton was 70 overall. Wow, good for him. 91 speed. Yeah, he would be our slot corner in this draft. And if I didn't want him at slot corner, I might play him at middle linebacker as well. Maybe. I don't really know. I'd have to take a look. But Andrew Still, backup lineman. He looks good. Perkins, 65 overall. I wanted to see him. Matt Hankins. .62 man coverage. It said A. So it must be glitched or something. The man coverage. That sucks. I thought he was going to be more interesting, but if he had like 79, 80 man coverage, that would, to me, would be interesting. That's what I thought he was going to have, but apparently he doesn't. It was more of a waste of a pick. And Will Crocker, 65 overall. Oh my God, Shane Dowell's so bad. We can't start him. Well, we could, but ideal, aggressive. Oh my God, 42 overall. You know what? For shits and gigs, I'm going to play him as our quarterback, and I'll sim to the end and see if he can get us to the playoffs. Just as a little tidbit for the end of the video. Okay, so just for fun, we're going to sim a season using Shane Dowell as our franchise quarterback. 42 overall, 84 throw power. I think we'll make the playoffs. He has ideal sense of pressure. He has aggressive forced passes. He does not have throw the ball away. He's pretty much perfect for his traits. The only thing he's missing is tight spiral, which doesn't really matter that much. It's just me and my OCD cares about it the most. But 51 awareness, 59 medium accuracy. He's just terrible stats, but I don't know. With this supporting cast around him, I think we might be able to slip into the playoffs. But we'll see. Let's see how it goes. Okay, so yeah, not even close to making playoffs. But honestly, I think that's more because the Eagles pass catchers aren't enough to carry the quarterback. But if I had, like, you know, Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce and a really good slot receiver, I think that this quarterback would have made it, Shane, to the playoffs. But his stats were pretty good. You've seen his overall. Look at the stats that he put up in the Chiefs playbook with those traits. 4,700, 35 touchdowns, 15 interceptions. That's insane. I want to see what his overall is now. Actually, we can just check from there. Let's go ahead and take a look at him. So what was he? He was 42. He went up 8 overalls in one season, and we haven't even got through the playoffs yet. 86 throw power. He's looking a lot better. We might have a franchise quarterback on our hands, but we won't find out because this is the end of the video. I hope you learned something. If you have any questions about drafting, feel free to ask them in the comment section and I will try to answer them as quick as possible. Thank you so much for watching. Going forward, I think we might do a release schedule of like Monday and Friday. I'm not as sure. I've kind of just been doing it here and there whenever I had inspiration to make a video. But if you enjoyed the content, please like and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching and have a great day. This is the end of the series. Thank you so much for sticking with me and watching until the end. I hope you enjoyed the playthrough and you can expect more series just like this one to be released on the channel. I look forward to making more videos for you and have a great day.